Hello and welcome to Saying Yes to Life. I'm Delisa Renideo coming to you from Vilcabamba, Ecuador, and welcome to my stormy garden. It's just starting to rain, the wind has been blowing, so we'll see. How does this go today? You'll get to see how it looks when it's not just all beautiful and sunny. So today we're going to talk about the paradox of emptying in order to find fullness. So I'm sure you know modern life is overfilled. Our closets are overfilled. Our calendars are overfilled. And usually our minds are also overfilled. And a lot of the things that we have in our closets and in our other cabinets and drawers are things that have been of great value to us at some time. But then we don't get rid of things. We just have too much stuff. And if you're anything like me and most people I know, you probably have too much stuff right now, or you have just been doing some cleaning out to get rid of it. But even though we don't want to experience lack, we don't really experience true satisfaction unless we have some space in our lives. So when our lives are overfilled with too many things, too much to do, too much to think about, it's because we've made too many yeses. And of course, I'm about yes to life. But when we have too many yeses, we end up with too much. And sometimes the busyness is actually acting as kind of a disguise in our lives for more meaning and purpose. Because if we feel like if we're really busy, our life must be really meaningful and purposeful. But actually, sometimes it's not that at all. Sometimes the busyness just disguises the lack of meaning or the feeling of not really being on purpose. And when everything is full, we can't really breathe very well. The joy in our life can't breathe. So let's think about some areas of life where we know we need some emptiness. Like, let's think about music. I think about music a lot. I love music. But we think of music as the notes that we're hearing, but the emptiness between the notes is what actually allows those notes to be meaningful and beautiful. And you know what they call this emptiness between notes? We call them rests, R-E-S-T-S, rests. And I hadn't thought about the irony of that word until I was preparing for this little episode. But we actually rest between the notes. And we need to rest between other things. Think about how we make periods at the end of a sentence. It's not just because it's a rule of grammar. It's so that we pause our thoughts at the end of that period, at the end of that sentence, before we start a new sentence. So when we empty things out in our external life, we get rid of some external clutter, we discover that we're actually starting to reclaim our energy. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but our stuff is holding energy, holding our energy. And sometimes we don't realize that until we get rid of some of that clutter. And then we start to notice that this is opening up a space inside me. And it feels so good when you open your closet and your things are just nice and neatly organized and they're not crammed in. And when you open your drawers, you can see what you've got in there. I know that feels really good. But it's not something that we always practice. But when we have that lack of clutter in our outer life, we notice that opens an inner space inside us. So that space in our closets helps us to get more clear in our minds, in our emotions, and even in our spirits. And that spaciousness that I'm talking about actually helps us bring the end to rushing. I don't know about you. I don't like to rush. But I do rush a lot. And we all know what that feels like. We're in a hurry, we're overloaded, we might feel like we're running late, we have too much to do, we don't have time to do it, and we're rushing, we're hurrying. But I've discovered that when I'm in a hurry, I really can't afford to rush, because when I'm rushing, that's when I drop something or I forget something and I have to turn around and go back. And so I actually have a little mantra in my mind. When I'm in a hurry, I go, I can't afford to rush. I can't afford to rush. And it actually helps me. But if you think about it, nature moves fast often, but it never rushes. Have you ever watched horses running, or your dogs when they're running and playing, or a gazelle running away from a lion? They run fast, but they're not rushing. They're just moving fast while staying conscious of what they're doing. And what I see in nature is that there's a spaciousness in nature which allows for calm speed. And there's grace in the motion. It's not the same kind of feeling of rush, 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 rush that we humans can get into. And so when we allow for that spaciousness that comes when we empty out, we notice something kind of paradoxical what happens, because then we can experience a new kind of fullness. When we have less stuff and less busyness, it actually leads to the opportunity for more life. And then gratitude and a sense of presence can just arise naturally in that space. And in that fullness where we're being present, it's not about having more. And you don't have to feel this in order to know what I'm talking about. But you probably do know what I'm talking about. We've all heard that nature abhors a vacuum. And of course, we've probably experienced if we get rid of something in our closet, then we just get more stuff to fill it up. But besides, if we can resist doing that, when we have more space in our physical life, there's more room for life and gratitude and joy in that empty space. That's where the extra joy can come from, is having space in our lives for it to fit. When we're rushing, we don't really stop and feel joy. So I'd like to invite you and me to give yourself permission to release things that you no longer need. Things that may have been very important to you at one time, but now you really don't need them. And they're just filling up your external space, and they're also holding your energy in your internal space. So enjoy that feeling. And it's kind of like we give a big exhale. We just go, ah, and you know how good that feels. And at the end of that exhale, there's a space. And nature, abhorring a vacuum, fills that space with life, with more life. So I invite you to practice that this week and enjoy that feeling of spaciousness and allow life to express through your emptiness. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again very soon.